And we are live. Breaking news today. Now, if you're looking at the headlines that I had before, initially I was going to come out and discuss. People are now discussing more what we already suspected about September 11th. I mean, like I was in a classroom my first year teaching, and I happened to have a television because I would show VHS videos on algebra, and I was teaching an algebra class. And one of the students came into the first period class and was talking about the World Trade Centers had been attacked by planes, and so I turned it on for us to watch live. And as it was happening, I said that this was the work of Dick Cheney and President Bush. That was my statement. Within 2 weeks, I was removed from my classroom for making that statement. In addition, while me and the kids were watching this whole situation evolve live on television, I recall watching President Trump, at the time, just Donald Trump, who had witnessed everything from Trump Towers. And he was discussing how he heard several bomb explosions. And then he went on to immediately accuse President Bush as well. And so that is the reason why Dick Cheney and George W. Bush hate Donald Trump. That's what I was going to discuss. In addition, my focus was going to be on the plot of the Democrats, which is it's clear that the Democrats as a whole do not care. The Democratic Party do not care about this country. What I find disturbing is how the Democrats have doubled down on illegal immigration and have felt that Abracio Garcia, the MS-13 member of who's a citizen of El Salvador, was worth spending all this taxpayer money to go visit him and try to bring him back. And this is despite the Supreme Court saying that there should be a way to facilitate bringing him back to the country. Here's the problem. It's illegal to enter any foreign country without a proper visa and authorization to enter the country. What these illegal immigrants have been doing for 40 years is entering the country, breaching the borders of the country. And then once they're in the country, we're supposed to give them due process, which is a full court trial, to extricate and extradite them back to their original country. The reasons that Biden and the Democrats decided to allow 10 to 20 million illegal immigrants is because they understand that. So we bring in or we allow 10 to 20 million illegal immigrants to cross the border. And then once they're here, we're going to demand that all 10 to 20 million be giving due process, which is an official court trial, which could draw on for years, knowing that we do not have the resources to facilitate 10 to 20 million separate court trials. And that's their rationing. So with Abrego Garcia, they felt that he was worth, putting all this effort and money into, including African Americans. And then this stunt last Friday at the Delaney Detention Center in Newark, New Jersey. I feel it appalling that African Americans felt like instead of the mayor and this African American congresswoman getting arrested to improve the quality of life for African Americans in Newark, New Jersey, in cities like Detroit, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Oakland, California, Los Angeles, they felt that they want to put all of their effort and energy into protecting illegal immigrants and fighting for their right to stay in the country illegally. if the African American community as a whole can't see that and they aren't enraged, then it's the fault of African Americans, because I'm appalled. When I was a high school student in California in 1987, the Hispanic population was 3% of California. Now it's 47% of California, and possibly more than 50%, because a lot of Hispanics claim to be white. So this is very disturbing. And now the total Hispanic population has doubled the population of African Americans in the United States as a whole. And this is after 40 years of illegal immigration. And the Democrats, since the Civil War, have they formed the Ku Klux Klan. They, as the American original terrorist organization of America, because they could no longer have African Americans as slaves, they formed the Ku Klux Klan. They went on terror rampages, slaughtering and killing thousands of African Americans throughout the South. It is estimated that in each state up until the late 1960s, that 2,000 African American men were being lynched each year in each southern state, all the way up to Michigan. So, the Democratic Party has a past of slavery. They formed the Ku Klux Klan terrorist organization, and they also formed segregation as a way to subjugate African Americans after the Union troops left the South. So for Democrats who are African American to side with the Democratic Party and feel that going after illegal immigrants is the thing to do is very offensive and disconcerting. And just, to me, as an individual, I see through the Democrat Party. And that's why I switched over to actually more of an independent, but I'm a conservative, and I'm a constitutionalist, and it just defaults me into the Republican Party. But I'm a constitutionalist conservative. But now the subject I'm discussing is the recent decision in California for the Menendez brothers, who were given life in prison without a possibility of parole, to win and be resentenced to 50 years to life. And this is what I believe is because they've had new witnesses 25, 30 years later testify that, they always discuss being molested by their father or whatever, being sexually abused. And that's the reason why the judge only took 1 day to resentence them to 50 years in life. And it's the change in sentiment in America and in California that if you allege being sexually abused, that you just have the right to kill somebody by your allegation alone. And the dead person can't defend themselves and say there's proof of that. And this is all based upon the testimony of the two boys who killed their father and mother. And so this is, and so the direction that America as a whole and California as a whole and this judge is sending out is that it's okay to kill your parents, and you're not going to get the death penalty. So we're going to give you life in prison, and then we're going to resentence you to 50 years to life. And then we're going to say, hey, you suffered 30 years in prison, so now you're free. And this was all to get their wealth, and so, this is disgusting by this judge. I hope the prosecution, they lost. And so I hope that the prosecution, there's a new trial to say, no, hey, wait a minute. We can't have a judge 30 years later resentence after 30 years, and the defense uses this tactic. It's just disgusting, and the Menendez brothers, the fact that they can live with themselves shows the illness that they both have. These two people are psychotic. Both the Menendez brothers are psychotic. For them to be fighting every day to get free, these two guys are psychopaths that killed their mother and father. And the judge didn't even take into consideration the killing of the mother. Even if it is true that the father sexually abused both of them, how does that justify them killing the mother? And their defense is, well, we wanted to put her out of her misery. So this is letting you know the psychology of the judges and the courts in California, that the judges themselves are unfit to be judges. This is appalling. I hope that AG Pam Bondi steps in and then at least hits both the Menendez brothers with, okay, the state of California wants to say that, well, we're going to come in as the Department of Justice. And you know what? If you get parole in California, we're going to hit you with some federal charges so you could stay in prison for the rest of your life. So that's what I have to say. I'm just disgusted by this judge in California. California is in a mess along with Gavin Newsom. And we know that Gavin Newsom is going to release these guys. We already know that Gavin Newsom was a part of this whole scheme. So we already know that now there's been a resentencing and it's up to Gavin Newsom. We already know that Gavin Newsom is going to set these people free, both of them. And that's a good thing, because that will allow at least the Republican Party to say, this man is, Gavin Newsom is not fit to be president. Okay. And then it'll allow Kamala Harris to use that against Gavin Newsom. But this, the state of California, the leaders of California, and the population of California, who they elect to be their leaders, these people disgust me. As a resident of California, these people absolutely disgust me. And you know what? I'm going to leave it at that. So with that, this is Crypto Kid TV. On a good note, Bitcoin is now over $100,000. The economy is responding to President Trump and his tariffs. That is the good news of today's podcast, is that Bitcoin has hit a recent high of 104,000 US dollars. And the Wall Street and the financial markets in America now have adjusted their brains to the fact that President Trump is right. And accordingly, the economy is responding. So with that, this is Daniel Plummer signing out. This is the Crypto Kid. We're going to continue to give you more information. Speaker Mike Johnson has said that he is set to put a bill on President Trump's desk that includes a budget. Let's see if it happens. Remember, I was speculating that there would not be a budget passed until April 2026, and that what was going to happen is that Congress was going to go into recess in late June and then come back out in late August, early September, and have to pass a temporary budget to get them through the fall, and then another temporary one to make sure the government doesn't shut down during the Christmas holiday coming up in 2025. And so let's see if Speaker Mike Johnson presents President Trump with a budget in the next 45 days. With that, this is Crypto Kid signing out. Thank you so much for being here. We finally have saw an improvement with the economy, so that is a good thing, as well as a rebound with Bitcoin. So once again, signing out, and remember, the future is crypto.